Okay, so we're at the guided practice. This is 7-12. It's on page 315. And I'm looking at the guided practice. Philip wants to run a total of 3 miles each day. On Monday morning, he ran this far, 1 7/8 miles. How many more miles does he still need to run? It says draw a diagram to represent the problem. Well, here's the problem. So we've got to draw a diagram here. And so I'm going to draw a box here. And he's going to run 3 miles, so I'll do 3 of these. Each one of these would represent a mile. Okay? And so he ran 1 mile. Just color that in, shade it in. And 7/8 of a mile. So I need to divide this into 8s. Well, that's kind of easy. I'm going to divide it in half first, and then I'm going to divide it by quarters. Each one of these boxes is a quarter. Now if I divide those again, that'll be 8s. So I'm going to cut each one of these in half. Now I have my 8s. And how many 8s did he run? 7/8. So I'm going to shade in 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's what you would draw, something similar to this, to represent the problem. Then it says, write and solve the equation for the problem. How did you find the solution? So write and solve the equation. So we're adding 3 and 1 7/8. I could do that right here. This is the second problem I'm working on. So 3, and there's no fraction with that, but we're adding 1 7/8. Well, this is pretty easy. There's no fraction here. So 0 plus 7/8 is 7/8. 1 and 3 is 4. So the answer to number 2 is 4 and 7/8. How did you find the solution? I'll put 4 and 7/8. How did I find it? By adding 3 and 1 and 7/8 together. Kind of a no-brainer. Okay. And then it does say, it asks the question, how many more miles does Philip need to run? Well, let's come back to our diagram here for a moment. How many more miles does he need to run? Well, what didn't we fill in? There's 1 right there, or 7, 1/8 rather, I should say. And then a whole 1. So what would that be? 1 and 1/8. How many more miles does he need to run? 1 and 1/8 of a mile. Okay. Let's see here. Model with math. It says a landscaper used 2.5 tons, 3 1/4 tons, and 5/8 of a ton. What was the total weight? So it says draw a diagram and write an equation to represent the problem. Well, you guys can write the equation. I'm not so worried about that. All of you can write 2.5 and 5/8 and 3 1/4. But to model it, so we need to do first 2.5. So I'll do 1, there's 2, and then another one that'll be half. I could shade that in. And then shade in 1 of the halves. This would be 2 and 1/2. And then 3 1/4. I think all of you could do that by now. You would draw 3 boxes 1, 2, 3, and then a fourth one for the fraction. So here's something that would represent a model of 3 1/4 tons. There's 3 shaded in, and then a quarter. Well, a quarter is, first we're going to divide it in half, and then we'll put it in quarters, and we're going to shade in one of the quarters. This is 3 1/4. And then I'll let you guys do the last one. 5/8, you would just do 1 bar. I'll put 5/8. I say I'll let you guys do it. Here I am doing it. And then divide it in half. Divide it into quarters, and then divide it into eighths. And it's 5/8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then it says solve the equation. I'll let you guys add those up and you can solve it. And I scratched this out because it was asking the same thing again, what was the total weight of the pebbles. All right. And let's see here. I want to keep it under 10 minutes. We're at 6 minutes, doing pretty good here. Camp activities. During the 6-hour session, Roland participated in boating, hiking, and lunch. The rest of the session was free time. How much did he spend on the 3 activities? Boating, hiking, lunch. Boating, hiking, and lunch. So, what do you know and what do you need to know? I know he spent, and then you can write down boating, hiking, and lunch and how much time he spent on each one. And then what do you need to find? Well, you're just, when it says what do you need to find, that's this part right here. Well, what do we need to find? How much time Roland spent on the 3 activities and how much free time did he have? So you're just going to rewrite 2 questions right there. It's pretty easy. Then it says describe the quantities and operations we use to find how much time Roland spent on the activities. Describe the quantities and operations. Well, we're going to be adding some fractions. And then you're going to be subtracting the total number from the 6 hours. Because they said it's a 6-hour session. And that'll tell you how much free time he had left. When you add up boating, hiking, and lunch, and subtract that from 6 hours, then you will know how much free time he had left. And then finally, model with math. I think you guys understand how to draw the diagrams now. Use an equation to help you find how much time he spent. Okay, so I think you guys can do this. So I'm going to end the video here.